So Oksana Esberard is a master meditation initiator, mindfulness speaker, trainer, and consultant. She works with entrepreneurs and C-level executives interested in reaching the next level of mental, emotional, and spiritual evolution. Oksana also teaches corporate mindfulness programs to leadership teams and delivers workshops and retreats. As the newest addition, and I read this with great interest today, Oksana has started to work with high security prisons, bringing meditation and mindfulness as tools of self-correction for those who want a second chance in life. Oksana has trained extensively at the top meditation schools all around the world, so in India, Hong Kong, and the US. She continues to attend advanced teacher trainings and events in mindfulness and meditation around the world. Born and raised in the far east of Russia, Oksana became a citizen of the world at the age of 16. She has traveled to 55 plus countries, leading executive events and workshops in India, North America, and Russia. Happily married, Oksana now lives in Florida with her husband, Raphael, and dog, Lola. Welcome to the show, Oksana.
Yay, thank you, Louise, for having me. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. I've been looking forward to this show since we met, which was February of 2019, so February of this year. And I was compelled to reach out to you to talk about being on the show because you led us, this was a small group of people at No Longer Virtual, a conference in Atlanta. You led us in a morning meditation. Now, I've been meditating not for long. I'm a newbie meditator. And I've been doing it on my own. Never had actually anyone lead me through meditation. So it was an incredible experience. I know. It was an incredible experience.
That is incredible that you're doing it on your own. A lot of people start with guided or apps. So, but yes, I started on my own too. So it's incredible.
Yeah. So what I'd love to do, so thank you. What I'd love to do is just hear, maybe you could start, so you grew up in Russia. How did you come to the US? And I really want to then understand how your journey led you to doing what you do. You've got your own business and you're doing incredible things in the world. I want to hear a whole journey, and we could be here for a week, I'm sure, but let's start us out. So rewind the clock a little bit.
Yes, it's interesting that you've asked because I'm actually going to go really fast, but I'm in the process of editing the book. So this fall, the book should come out with more details and unveiling all the stories about my journey and how did I arrive here. So that's the reason why I was writing the book, and also sharing the tools, sharing the practices that I do and I've been teaching others. But the long story short, originally I'm from the far east of Russia, that's between China and Japan, some piece of Russia that people don't know about, Vladivostok, the closest city you might heard of. I was born and raised there in the Soviet Union. Stayed there until I was 16. And at the age of 16, I was fortunate to win a scholarship, a program to come and study to the United States, paid by American government and hosted by American family. And since then, pretty much the world opened up to me. I realized that I really want to be part of the world, and Russia did not represent opportunities for me at that time. So my quest and my journey was not smooth, but by the age of 21, I was able to return to the United States. And I started in Texas, then Pennsylvania, and then I landed in Florida, and that's where I mostly resided since then. And my journey was, a regular immigrant who wants to make the American dream, who wants to achieve the things, study hard, work hard. And I am, by profession, business development and sales hospitality professional. I also worked in IT and a little bit in real estate. And mindfulness and meditation really were the tools that kind of found me through my personal struggle. When I decided to leave to Asia in 2012, a series of events happened that really aggravated the anxiety and stress, and achieving American dream comes at a cost, and it's a really high cost. And when you're not educated of how to mitigate the stress, how to manage your expectations, how to deal with hard emotions that arise through the challenge of moving through the countries, moving through the continents, do it on your own, finding new people to be with and to make friendships and build relationships. All of that, I wasn't really prepared. I was just charging for the goal. And along the way, a lot of things started to crumble up underneath me. And during that tool, with the grace of life, I found the tools of mindfulness and meditation versus some other stimulants that I could have relied on. And it really tremendously helped me. It was not an instantaneous journey. It was a progress that was going through the years. So I've been practicing yoga since 2009, and then 2012 I really took a deep dive into transcendental meditation and energy modalities to understanding myself and how the world interacts. And then through that constant learning, I found India. And in my first trip to India, which was literally kind of the last place I've ever wanted to visit, I mean, like, even after 55 plus countries, I was like, India, really? Not on my list, that's the bottom. But something was calling me there. And that's like listening to that inner voice that was rather loud for me. I couldn't ignore it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. And there I did a teacher's training, and I found a teacher and a master who is still remaining my teacher that completely revolutionized myself and how I was looking at life. And even before, with all the training, I think all the previous things were kind of like leading up toward that transformation. And then you have this complete boom and explosion of emotions and realizations and self-corrections throughout that month in immersions. And when I came back, I was like, I want to sustain it. You know, I'm no longer in Indian Himalayas. How do I sustain it here in this world with these distractions, with the technology? And frankly, to create accountability for myself, I started business meditation in downtown Miami. And through that, I found a passion. It was helping people so much that I was kind of shocked by how much I was enjoying it. And accidentally, I found a passion of service to others through mindfulness meditation tools, through tools and techniques that I've been learning ever since as well. And slowly it evolved into business. And then I just transitioned full time. I thought, if this is something that I want to do for the rest of my life, this is it. And I made the leap, cut all the cords, and this is where I am right now.
What a beautiful story. And so many avenues to jump into there. One of the things that I wanted to explore a little bit, and I really appreciated you sharing, is that you said it wasn't an instantaneous journey. And I think that it's very easy to look at someone like you, and like there are others as well, but like you, who have got this business, who are thriving, who are centered, who are grounded, who are educated, who have arrived. And it's easy to look at that and think, oh, I can't do that. And so I really appreciate that you shared and said that it wasn't an instantaneous journey, and I didn't want to gloss over, I didn't want that to go mentioned once without being sort of underlined and highlighted. You mentioned as well that your inner voice got really loud, that was leading you to a place that your head had been telling you that you didn't want to go. For our listeners who are wondering, you know, how do you hear that inner voice? What would you say to them?
Yes, well, to your first point about the journey, that it's not an instantaneous journey, it is still a journey for me. I don't think it ever stops. So even if you think like you've arrived, there are more things to constantly evolve and grow into. And one of my commitments with my clients and everybody that I work to is that I don't wear a crown of perfection. I am human, and I have full permission to fail, to experience emotions that are last desired. And that realm of perfection was one of the things that I needed to break within myself. I was just this Miss Perfect that needs to constantly be Miss Perfect. And it was just so heavy. And these tools helped me realize my own humanity, and that part of being human is all-encompassing experience. It's the shadows that we're also holding and owning them and evolving from them. So it's ever-continuing journey. I'm still a student, and I have many teachers that contribute to that. When it comes to your question of how do you listen to your inner voice, well, before you kind of starting the mindfulness meditation tool, so the longer you practice, the more it becomes obvious what is just the ego and the mind talking, and what is what I call the voice of your heart. And it's different qualities, because your mind is constantly in motion, your mind is constantly talking, right? Our inner dialogue never ends, pretty much. And then what is the distinction between that constant monologue inside and what is true to itself? There are moments when the characteristic of it is the inner knowing that you just know it is true for yourself. And it is sometimes against the logic. It is sometimes against the logic, even circumstances. When I first decided to go to India, I had tons of time. I did not have the money, just the conditions of my situation at that time. And that inner voice was like, you really need to go. And that's where you start to develop a sense of trust. And I trusted that if this is the truth to me, then the money will arise. And that day, the day of my flight, when I was kind of like in the morning, I was flying out at night, I got a job and I realized that all my financial issues are covered, that everything will be fine. Up until that date, I just was constantly repeating myself, I trust the process is going to be okay. So the inner quality of knowing, and in order to start trusting that voice, you really need to test it on a few really simple things, like taking a new route, and it's experimenting and starting to get to know yourself. And it only comes by doing. You kind of do certain things, and sometimes it leads to mistakes and you learn from that. And sometimes you're kind of like, oh, that really worked out, and you start listening. And it comes from this place here. It comes from the chest, from the heart. Analytical mind and logical mind rationalizes everything. And then at the heart, I would say the quickest test that you can do it for yourself, does it feel heavy or light? You just ask yourself, any decision that comes into your head, does it feel heavy or light? Not is it, can I do it or not? Is it good or bad? Do I like it or not? Is it possible or not? It's just, how is it feeling as a feeling inside you, heavy or light? If it feels heavy, chances are it's not for you. If it feels light, even though no matter how impossible it is, you'll find the way.
I love that. Hope everyone wrote that down. Does it feel heavy or light? So whatever you might be wrestling with right now, there is a simple question that may provide you with some inner insight and guidance.
And sometimes you also may hear nothing. Sometimes it's not like, I don't know. And in such case, stay with the question. Just stay with the question, and eventually the circumstance can change. Give yourself that time to, again, ask yourself, is it heavy or light? And may the question arise then. So stay with the question. Don't look for the answers.
I love that. I love that. Let the answers kind of come. So how did you get started in your business? So tell us a little bit about kind of what you were doing right before you started your business, and then how you transitioned into entrepreneurship.
That's an interesting transition. I was entrepreneur at heart for a very long time, I think since I remember myself, and I had a few ventures that I started and tried before, even with my husband. And at that particular point of time, I was a business developer for a co-working space in downtown Miami. And when I came back, I knew that I have this beautiful conference rooms and I need to promote the space. I need to bring, it was on the 32nd floor, and we were not allowed to put any signs, even on the elevator in the lobby of the building. So I needed awareness. And one of the ideas that came to me to pair my newly found passion of how to hold myself accountable and meditating is to offer business meditation. So I ran it by my boss and I said, listen, I'm going to do it once a week before work hours or after work hours, totally on me, my time, contributing, and it will bring awareness. We'll start advertising it to the whole business community, to the local people around, and offer to all the societies that we know. And he liked the idea and he allowed me to do that. So I had this beautiful venue free for me, and I was guiding meditations there, and my meditations were meditation journeys. I would always start with breathing technique, and I'll get a theme in there, and then I'll do guided exercises. And these were highly attended by all people, walks and lives in there, and different professions. And they started to share with me their transformations. After 2-3 weeks, they started to share with me how much it was impacting them. Even the first time, the woman started to cry there. And then kind of weeks later, she shared with me that it's actually, she was grieving for her dad who passed 8 months earlier, and she was not able to kind of move on from that. And through that one-time meditation, like the tears of release started to fall through her face, and it freaked me out because I'm like, oh my God, it's my first time and she's crying. What did I do?
But she's never gonna come back.
apparently she was in bliss, so that all that matters. But this was kind of like my beginning, and that as I said, like as months were going by, I started to make research on, is it even a valuable business idea? Where are we at with mindfulness? And I realized that there's a lot of scientific and medical research that comes up that supports the benefits of these tools. There are a few companies that are already doing it inside themselves. And because I couldn't find any, and I started to literally offer, I could kind of like started to bug people and say, do you want guided meditation in your office for free? And I would do it on my own time. And I was doing a lot of stuff for free to experiment and see people's reactions. And in about 6 months, it became apparent for me that there is a valid idea, that it has a lot of potential, that I'm loving it unconditionally. And you know, how do I make it happen? And I talked to my husband and I said, you know, would it be something that you would support me on? Because obviously I couldn't guarantee that I will be profitable. And he said, yes, absolutely. And about 8 months later, I opened a company. I said that this is it.
I love the sharing of all of this sort of behind the scenes stuff, because I think this sharing, the opening up the kimono a little bit, is really, I think, what allows us to gain and garner inspiration and motivation from other people and hearing how they navigated it. Because there certainly will be people listening who, whether they're looking to start a business or looking to make another change in their life, who will take little nuggets about what you've shared and be able to use in their own life. What's a tool or maybe you could tell us, do you have a morning ritual? I'm sure that there is for you. Can you walk us through what that's like for you?
Absolutely. Well, my morning ritual is quite long because I am committed and devoted that the first couple of hours of the day, they're mine. And unless I have travel plans or I work with clients or something work related, I am pretty devoted to keep my practice up, because if I cannot hold it, cannot hold myself accountable, then what am I teaching about, right? So my morning routine, I usually get up around 5 o'clock. And I have a morning ritual. It's a devotional ritual called puja that I learned in India. And it's about reciting certain mantras, which I already know the meaning of. And it puts me into that devotional state of unity and connection with everything. And it's just the first thing that you start to recite within your brain. So you're conditioning yourself, instead of having your habitual thoughts, habits, and patterns, or checking social media, then you're starting this day. Then I have a series of stretches for my spine and to kind of move my body. And then I have breathing technique and meditation that I've been initiated to in India, and that's what I initiate people into. It's different from what you would find online or in the guided meditations. But if you kind of want to replicate the routine, I would say the first 30 minutes of your day, do not check your cell phone. And the way I do it, I put it on the airplane mode the night before, right before I go to bed. So I don't turn it on until I'm done with my practice. So I'm not distracted or what happened throughout the night. And I can still use my phone for music or timing, but I don't really see what happened throughout the night. And so don't check your phone. Start with either read something inspirational very quickly or listen to inspirational podcasts while you're stretching. Gentle stretches, just moving your body, because it helps you to sit in the meditation. Then you can do deep breathing techniques, or you can actually, I will share the tools at the end, where the resources that you can tap into with me. And then meditation. Meditation is a foundational practice, whether you choose to do it with an app or by yourself, at least 10-15 minutes to center your mind and to really be quiet with yourself, contemplation. If then you feel like you want to journal or read some more, that's up to you. But this kind of 3 would be my foundational recommendation.
I love it. Can I put you on the spot? Can you do take us through a short, deep breathing exercise? Would you mind doing that?
Yeah, depending on where you are at, I know hundreds of breathing techniques, and they're all different and they're all stimulating. So to be safe in the audience, what I would suggest, if somebody who knows yoga and knows breath of fire, that is a good one. And it's literally pumping your navel while breathing out through the nose, and it looks like this. So I'm only exhaling through the nose I'm gently inhaling through the nose, almost inhale is happening, but I'm concentrating on pumping my navel. That is an amazing activating breath, because in the morning you kind of, you have not eaten yet, you have not drink your coffee, you drank a glass of water. So it activates and starts the whole system, and it helps the digestion to cleanse and activate, and it also de-stresses and detoxifies. If you have any issues with, you cannot do deep breathing, or there's any stomach issues, or let's say you are in your first day of the cycle, that's not a good breath. It's very heating. It's heat generating. Then you can do slow, deep breathing, and you do it in 4 parts. You would inhale on the count of either 5, 7, or 10, how your lung capacity. So you'll only inhale through the nose. You'll hold your breath for the same equal count of 5, 7, 8, or 10. Then you'll slowly exhale. Everything is through the nose. You'll exhale on the same count, and then you hold your breath again. And then again, you inhale. Hold your breath for the equal length of your inhale. Then exhale on the equal length of your exhale. And hold your breath again. This breath is balancing, and it also de-stresses and it releases the negative impact of stress, but it's deeply balancing, and it actually been medically studied where it regulates the blood pressure, the sugar levels, and it's almost meditative. So those who struggle with meditation, they say, I cannot meditate. I tried, but it just doesn't work for me. Doing any breathing technique will get you prepared. It's almost like stretching before doing a workout. These breathing techniques will prepare your mind, your body, and your awareness to be able to sit through the meditation, that you actually can connect with it deeper and enjoy it. So this breathing technique, the breath of fire, you only do it for like 60 to 90 seconds. This one you do at least 3 minutes, because it's a little slower, deeper, so you can do 3 to 5 minutes. Or you can do that instead of your meditation. It's so meditative and deeply centering that you'll get the full benefits of meditation with it.
I love that you shared both of those. For someone who is listening as opposed to watching, may have just heard that heavy breathing. So hopefully, that fire breath one, hopefully no one just tuned in as they were hearing that. But if you did, we're just practicing some different breathing techniques with Oksana. I really appreciate that you brought up the fact that you do the deep breathing before meditation. I did not know that, which is why I think I struggled for so many years as I was trying to do meditation on my own, because I was one of those people, like many of us, busy in this busy world, busy lives, busy brains, which mean I think you need that's a sign you need the meditation. But I couldn't get there. I found it annoying. I just thought meditation wasn't for me. And so I too have to if there are a few things that I need to do in my life before I can sit down and then meditate, to get into a place of where I'm open to receive the benefits of meditation. Yeah, I also felt like that breathing just even, like, I think it was just 2 breaths that we did. It immediately releases, felt the stress releasing. I'm sorry, Oksana, you were just going to say something.
I was saying that think about it as like switching the gears on the car. If you're going 120 miles per hour and you're on your high capacity, then sitting down and meditating, it's like slamming the brake. It's not pleasant. No, it works well. No, it's safe. So you need kind of like slow down. And breathing, I found an amazing transition. And for people who are even more active, moving the body first, like gentle stretch, noticing within the body, connecting with the body and creating that body awareness first, then shifting to slow breathing. And the faster you are, the slower you should be breathing and not doing all the fire breaths again and activating more. So slowing down with the breath and then transition into a few minutes of silence. And that's perfect. That's where you're going to get full benefit as well.
I love it. So you mentioned your book at the very beginning. I want to know what inspired you to write a book.
It was actually you have the bucket list of the things that you want to do in life, and it was my 5 to 10 year plan a year ago. And I said, in 5-10 years, I really want to share what I learned. I want to share my story because I've realized that through attending a few courses on storytelling, I realized that people connect through stories. And then by sharing your story, there's always going to be someone who reads it and they will relate. And by what you've overcome, that will teach them a lesson. Instead of telling me do X, Y, Z, people usually don't follow instructions. But if they hear it in a story and they know how it works for somebody else, then it may inspire them to do the same. One of the books called The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer, I couldn't understand many things about mindfulness and meditation, about the word surrender. People would like surrender. And I'm like, what does it mean? Like, how does it feel? What I'm supposed to do? It's one of the words as mindfulness also. It can be confusing. Like, how does it feel and what do we do? When I read that book, The Surrender Experiment, and it's about a meditation practice, it's his story of his life, and he's a really devoted meditator and practitioner. And then I understood what the word surrender meant, like not only intellectually, but physically, knowing within me, that inner knowing, that voice that we started with. I was like, oh, that's what it means. So I started to practice it, and it really helped me. So with that same idea in mind, I thought that my story may be useful to some people. And then for the situations like this, like a lot of people want to know more in details. So that includes a lot of things that sometimes I'm not able to share within the short period of time. And it kind of brings that framework of what my journey was and how it led me to the business and what things people can do to incorporate it into their life. So I hope to achieve that goal.
That's fantastic. And what have you learned about yourself through this journey? Because I too am writing a book, and I'm learning way more than I thought that I was going to learn. My coach tells me it's like growing and birthing a baby, because I have 4 kids. So she used that analogy, and it's so true. It can be painful at times, can be joyful at times, it's exciting at times, it's scary at times. So tell me what that experience has been like for you so far.
Yes, well, the original idea was a project of 20 chapters and overachieving and being very ambitious. And that I learned through myself that actually I have a tendency to still be an overachiever and shoot really high. And then I realized, oh, would I complete it within the time frames that I set myself in? And the answer was no. And yes, you're absolutely right. I went through an emotional roller coaster. Like I actually had to go through the death of my dad that I share in the book. And I was simply crying for like 3 days because I realized that I hadn't processed it correctly. And I still had a few things there that were stuck in the past. So it is like growing, it is like a baby that you work with, and it's changing and it transforms you as you start to realize certain aspects. And really, with me, it is a humbling experience about knowing how far I have come. And sometimes when we are so on to the next things, we are not really pausing and acknowledging what have we done in the past. It's also facing some of the mistakes and the past states of consciousness that I was in, that I was not the best person. It was not the person that I would like or appreciate. At the same time, it made me like and appreciate that person because that is part of me, and accepting that whole me and forgiving, and started to be more at peace with who I am and who I was. And that created that wave of self-love and self-acceptance that I think transmits into my work now. And it's also about the service component. It's not about me at all. It's about how do I share and incorporate things that could help others, which is a really different standpoint of view from where I came from. In Russia, everything is about self-preservation. You take it, you hold on to it, even if you don't need it. So this whole component of service is something that I'm truly embracing, enjoying, and incorporating in that book as well.
Kudos to you for having that acknowledgement as well, because I'm sure there must at some point have been an inner conflict between the cultural history of what Russia, that part of your thinking and psyche, with where you are now. Those are worlds apart, not only geographically, but emotionally and mentally as well. And I see people wrestling with that type of thing who are North Americans, who live in North America anyway. So where is a good place for someone to start if they recognize that sort of inner conflict? Where would be a good place for them to start?
Well, first is recognizing it. The first step to any change, if you want to change that, or if you want to see if this is something that works for your current life, is the awareness. And the tools of mindfulness and meditation are exactly that, tools to create that self-awareness, the metacognition, knowing about the process of your thinking and the process of your learning, and that by being present, being still, being quiet, you start to observe the tendency of your minds, the tendency of what emotional states you are in all the time. So the first key is awareness. And then the second key, they say, a lot of people, they're depending on the layer of conditioning. So there are some conditioned tendencies, and I take my heritage or anybody's heritage or the environment that you grew up in. We are conditioned in one way or the other. The way people do things in North America is different than they do in Asia. It's different than they do in Africa. So there are already, by being born in a certain place, you already tend to do things in one way or the other. And that's what I call conditioning. That conditioning, some of it is strong, and some of it can be changed easily. Some habits, by realizing that you are doing it, you can instantaneously change. And there are some that are so deep and they're so subconscious that it takes a conscious, consistent effort to change. And that's where the consistency of the practice matters a lot. That yes, you can realize certain things, but to change your tendency, how you feel especially, it takes time. And it takes consistent time to say, no, do this. Your body and your mind wants to do this. You say, no, do this. Do this. And then it's just a matter of repetition. You are reconditioning, you're creating that new pattern, that new groove within your brain, wiring and rewiring it. And a lot of people, frankly, stop too soon. They think that, oh, if I'm doing it and I'm repeating it and I'm getting bored with it, then I'm not doing something right. Or it doesn't feel right. Like you said, meditation was not feeling right for you. These are all the signs, either resistance or boredom means that you are changing. If you feel great and you liking it, it means that nothing changes. You are the same. So if you're really for change, then embracing the discomfort and stepping out of your familiar patterns, that's where you will start really evolving and changing that conditioning.
There's a phrase that I know you have heard and I've grown to dislike, and that's get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I understand the essence of it, but I think it suggests, use the words as they are, suggests that, you know, ends up feeling comfortable, and it never does. Every time I'm in a place of growth and I feel the frustration and I feel the tension, I'm like, oh, here it is again. And I'm reminded of how much I don't like it yet. And your initial thought is to retreat. And so I love what you're saying about awareness, because every single time that it happens, I am always amazed at how strong the inner pull is to stay where you are. And so the awareness that you're feeling it and need to move through that, I think is just can't be overstated. So now where you're at in your life, because I think the definition of success continues to change throughout life. What does success mean to you at this stage of your life?
Success has changed to me tremendously. Before, it was all about material success and, you know, what car you drive, where do you live, and how you present yourself to the society. Now for me, success is how many people's lives could you impact? And does that bring the fulfillment for you? Inner fulfillment, it's not something that you show, but how do you feel on day-to-day basis? So are you living more in the feelings of content? And I'm not talking about the extreme amounts of joys and happiness, and those are really nice, and people always associate it with kind of like, oh, I just want to be super, super happy all the time. But no, for me is, did I serve? Did I live my life purposefully? Would I have any regrets? If I died today, would I have any regrets? And I have this saying, and I use it a lot, and I keep it as a mind frame a lot. the definition of success, or the saying was that the definition of hell, but I'm like, I like the definition of success is that the person that at the end of your life, the person that you could have become is exact copy of the person who you are.
Wow.
So and the opposite of it is that the person that you could have become met the person that you are, and you have a lot of regrets of who could have you become. What is your full potential? So knowing your potential, and I think we all know who we want to be, and making active steps mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually every day, small steps, little bricks to get to that person, and doing it open-heartedly and without holding back.
I think that, well, that's beautiful. I wrote down that definition of success. I really like that. I think that's really, really tangible as well, right? Because I love inspirational quotes. I really do. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm a queen of quotes. I think by the time I'm 90, I'm going to be speaking only in quotes and cliches, but they're not very grounded, are they? So I like them. But what you just shared there, so grounded. And I also think that we live in a world of extremes. And it's interesting that I'm saying that because that's me. Or it is my natural, it's very much what my natural state is. And that's something I continue to wrestle with all the time. And so I love what you just shared about it being little blocks, like little steps. It's not about taking a massive leap today. Sometimes that's the case. But most of the time, it's what you do consistently over time.
It's consistency.
It's consistency, isn't it? And so I think that brings you back to what you're talking about with the deep breathing and the meditation. You know, even if you start with 5 minutes, just start doing 5 minutes every day. Here I am saying that. I know I'm not the instructor here, but I'd say that in terms of like what I decided to start with, and thought, okay, I can do that. I can do that. I was listening to Deepak Chopra on Super Soul Sunday the other day, and he said to an audience he was speaking to, if you're telling me right now that, or in your head, that you don't have time to meditate once a day, you need to do it twice a day. And it sort of made me chuckle, but so true. What's some sort of big questions here? So what's the biggest lesson that you've learned through your experiences? Because you are a young woman and have got like pretty incredible experiences and insights. So I'm interested to know what your biggest lesson is so far.
There are a lot. I will speak about the recent ones that I'm processing and incorporating in my own life. And I think all overachievers and people that like big actions and bold moves, and especially the Western culture and America in general, you know, we kind of aim really, really big. But what I've learned and what I'm learning right now, and I'm physically learning it, embodying it, let's say, is that really tiny moves and tiny shifts can lead to tremendous results and tremendous changes. And a lot of times we are, by doing these big moves and gestures, we are actually wasting a lot of energy and resources that not necessarily need to be wasted. And one of my mottos is keep it simple. What if it was simple? How can I make it happen that it's as simple as possible? And paying attention to those gentle moves and really slowing down and noticing the tiny difference that if you change the trajectory of your route just 2 degrees or 2%, you will end up in a totally different place. So paying attention to those subtle tonalities and not going through this grand and obvious things, not going for the obvious, but really dissecting the little layers.
There are so many gems to be found there. And that's where I have also learned, again, very newly so, the power of meditation and stillness, because that's what's allowed me to tune into the subtleties.
Exactly.
Because it allows you to quiet the noise a little bit. It is noisy. I'm sure you have gone through this and continue to go through this. But, and I imagine you hear those who you work with say this kind of thing, that once you start to awaken a little bit, you really realize how full our mind is. I'm sure you've seen the, mindful versus mindful. And I think that's a really interesting, very, very primary type concept, but something that most of us can really, really understand.
Absolutely.
What's the scariest thing of all these things that you have been doing? What's the scariest thing that you've done?
Is accepting myself.
Wow.
It's meeting the full me, and dropping since my early age, since I remember myself, I'm the smallest of the family, and I somehow somewhere took the responsibility that I need to be this Miss Sunshine that, you know, constantly brings light to others, that I need to be strong and I'm not allowed to be weak, that I am just having that high bar for myself, that surprisingly the more I was achieving, the higher it was moving.
Yeah.
And through a few humbling experiences, and that actually, frankly, it was boosting my ego, because I was gifted and I did achieve a lot, and that instead of really helping me to move to the direction of service and sharing, somehow along the way, it was just boosting my ego, and it was going into consumption end of it. And through certain experiences in life that some may label as tragic, now kind of learn to see them a little different. I view them as gifts, that those humbling experiences really helped me to realize that in order to appreciate the light, you need to see the darkness and accept the full spectrum of life. So you cannot cherry pick. I like this part of me, I don't like this part of me. It's the wholeness that I started to embrace, and it's a process. It's really forgiving your past mistakes, and stop wishing that things were differently, but rather see what did you learn through that, accepting that. And it's a really a multi-layer process versus just, yeah, totally got it. And there are certain aspects that even still keep unfolding, but the attitude that I bring now, when I realize that another thing is bubbling up in me that I wish to say, I wish I didn't have it, the tendency now is to sit with it, explore it, see how can I convert it into a learning and evolutionary experience versus traumatic experience inside me.
Oh, curiosity, there's magic to be found there. You know, being curious.
Absolutely.
Being curious is a really incredible way to connect with yourself and others. And I think that can really be a gateway to connecting with others who aren't like us. I think we need a lot of more curiosity in our culture right now. One thing you said I think is really interesting. You said that when you were young, that somehow you were the one that wore the hat of having to bring light to others. And what's neat is that you have found, I think, a very authentic and full way to still do that, because that's what you do now.
Yeah, I think it's in my nature. I think when when everybody asks you in child, what do you want to be? Like, what do you want to become? I was always confused about it because I didn't have like a solid profession in my mind. So I was always like, I want to be a princess. And, and even now people are like, what you wanted to be when you grow up? And I'm like, a princess. Like, I really didn't know what to be. But I think looking back is really the possibility to share and bring clarity to other people through different means. I found the means of mindfulness and meditation because it's also my tool of evolution. That's how I grow and evolve. But I think if it's all about sharing. Everybody, each and every one of us is bringing light for others in certain ways. Like you were doing the show and sharing with others, and you're creating that tremendous community, and through your coaching as well. So everybody has their own gifts. The doctors have their own gifts, the firemen and the lawyers and all the professions. Is just finding what is true to you versus just doing it as a profession. So finding that gift, and then if everybody just will find that and share it from their heart, I think world's going to be a way more simple and kinder place.
I agree. And I like what you've said. A few things I listened to. I'm really on a Super Soul Sunday kick these days. So I'm getting ready. I'm listening to all sorts of Super Soul Sundays. So today was Elizabeth Gilbert. She wrote Eat, Love, Pray. Mm-hmm. And I guess she used to talk about, and she admitted this at the beginning of her talk, she used to share with listeners about how you have to just follow your passion, follow your passion, follow your passion, until she got a really difficult message from a listener who really made her stop, pause, and pivot. And so through the long and short of it was that this listener had no idea what her passion was. She was 50 and she kept searching and searching and searching, and kept uncovering different things that she liked and wanted to try, and some that she kept, some that she didn't. And she said, so I don't have a purpose. So you're not speaking, or I don't have a passion. So you're not speaking to me in a way that's helping me. It's actually hurting me. And so what Elizabeth Gilbert now speaks about is about curiosity. And so what I'm saying is interesting what you were just sharing, because you also indicated that you accidentally found a passion of service. And it was through following your curiosity that you found that. And so I just wanted to create that connection. That was an interesting connection that just, happened today between listening to that podcast and you sharing your accidental discovery of passion. So if you don't know what your passion is as a listener, keep being curious, keep trying new things, try meditation, try deep breathing, and see what may unfold for you. You also mentioned you wanted to be a princess. And you also said earlier, I don't wear a crown of perfection. I think you need to get like a crown that has, imperfection. I think we could come up with a crown. I think you'd still be a princess of imperfection.
Yeah, that was my old identity, that I wanted to be a princess. Now I just want to be a great human being and live my life at full. So it's princess or no princess, it doesn't matter. May I add something about the purpose, because I highly resonate with this person that rose that question about not having the purpose, because I was in that place for a long time and I felt like I really need to find something. That's why I was one business idea after the other, and I was so stuck on like, what is my purpose? Why I'm here? What is my purpose? And I wasn't finding it, and I was working and doing the stuff, but it wasn't resonating, or I wasn't sure, is it? Is it not? Am I in my purpose? So I was always not sure and always tweaking it. And through my studying and through studying from the teacher in India, actually there could be 3 purposes in life that you could attribute. Some people don't have the grander purpose. Some people don't have that realization of this is what I meant to do in life. It sometimes may come, sometimes may not. And therefore, it is important to realize what's called like the second purpose is what is relevant in the moment. What can I be of service in this particular situation? Could I be helpful to this particular person who reached out for me for help? Can I be of assistance to my family members? Can I be a great team worker? And it's in the moment. It's not this whole grand life somewhere out there. Is what are we doing day to day to day to day? And for some people, that is it. You are doing what is presented to you to the best of your ability, to the best of your potential, with the best heart purpose in you to do the best job possible. And that is already fulfilling of itself, that the task can change. I am in full awareness that maybe life does not have in stock with me to be a mindfulness and meditation speaker and ambassador for the rest of my life. Maybe I will be presented with some other task and challenge that I need to do. So we don't know. There's so many unknown. But what we know is what right in front of us, and purposefully responding to that and doing our best in any given moment. That is the purpose of itself, and it leads to tremendous amount of fulfillment and happiness if you jump into it.
I love that you just shared that. I think that is a gift. I think that is a gift that that you have just given the listeners, and I want to say thank you for that, because I think there are a lot of individuals out there searching, and they think then that they're doing something wrong, that there's something wrong with them, and that they are not enough somehow because others are finding this passion and purpose in their why, and
maybe they're faking it. We never know who is finding it and who is faking it. So.
Absolutely.
I mean, expectations and constantly there.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that in so much more detail with so much more meaning. So we have 4 minutes left. I want to ask two things of you. One is, how can people reach you if they are a leader wanting to find out more, how you can help them and support them in their business, or anyone else who might want to to learn from you? How can they reach you?
The best resources are my two websites. One is SattvaMe, SattvaMe. There's a contact page there, and it has some information about what I do for the companies and professionals. I also have my personal website as a speaker. It's Oksana@Esberard.com. Social media is great. You can always PM me, and I'm rather good on replying to private messages. With some you might need to follow up, but I'm usually pretty good in following these things. And as a resource, I wanted to make sure that people who are interested to learn the tools, the breathing techniques, I've specifically for that purpose created an online mindfulness program that I am the leading teacher there, and I will share this podcast there. You can find it on the website SattvaMe/online, or if you go there, you will see online platform and you can find all the information there. And it's completely practical tools. It's guided meditation, breathing exercises, including the breathing techniques that we shared today. And I constantly update it, and I will be adding more in the programs there. So if you resonate with my style, then that's the tool for me to share global.
Thank you so much for that. I'm glad you shared that course online. That was going to be my second question. So I will include all of those links in the show notes. Oksana, I can't say thank you enough for sharing your time with me today and for sharing your expertise with me and the listeners. I so appreciate that.
Pleasure. I'm so excited that we got to do this, and I am available if there are any other questions or things that I could share. Please reach out to me and I'd be happy to respond.
Thank you.